What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another car feature video. In this one we have a pretty special car. So we've got Alex here, and behind us we have his S2000, and this is far from your average S2000s. I guess introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your S2000 here.
Well, thanks for having me on, man. Yeah, I'm Alex. I've been drifting probably for a lot longer than I have professionally, to admit, but I decided to turn my life around, try to give this thing a proper go and build something different, something that people would like and support, hopefully. And I love Hondas, so here we are today.
So this is your second, I guess, sort of second drift car. You had an R33 before that, and that was sort of what...
Still have.
Oh, that's right, you got it back. You got it back.
So I got it back, so yeah, it's going to get built tomorrow, actually, hopefully. Let's see if we can get it going. But that aside, yeah, started with the 33. That was the car that I kind of decided to go like semi-professional in, or to take it seriously, you know. Went to an Ashburton street sprint, like a night autocross, and not only pleasing the people that were there in the crowd, but like the organisers and the drivers, you know, drivers there that know nothing about drifting. And when they're cheering, I was like, man, maybe I need to actually show people what I'm capable of, you know. And that's where I started with that car. From there, I just kind of thought that's just another Nissan, and maybe it wasn't going to be competitive enough. And this came up for sale as a standard car, of course. Sold the 33 to pay for it. Always not regretted selling the 33, but didn't want to. Just took that hit, you know, to like move forward. And yeah, like I said, luckily I got it, managed to actually get it back. So
I guess we'll start a bit on the outside of this thing. Aesthetically wise, you were saying before, this is actually pretty much stock S2000 aside from the front fenders
and the spoiler. So I guess aesthetically, first thing is the circuit garage flares, or circuit garage copy flares. They're from the States, and like everyone knows, it's hard to get body kits and things of it for like a decent price. And when it's a drift car, it's hard to spend hundreds of dollars on it, you know. So I put that on. That's plus 65 in the front, and as you'll see, the wheels are still pretty much sticking out of the guard. And the front lip, again, something just cheap. It actually came off my partner's version 11 STI hatch. She like smoked it through some like flood water, and it was all twisted and whatever. And I just like taking it on there, and it, I don't know, looks alright.
Does the trick.
Yeah, and other than that, cut some holes in the bonnet. The bonnet's already alloy, so there's no point going like carbon or anything like that, really. And then just a wing, because everyone told me that all drift cars need to have massive wings, so I made a massive wing, and it's horrible, and I don't like it. And I was hoping that in 1 or 2 weeks' time I was going to scrape it off on the walls at Mount Smart, but it's
that plan's kind of
that's the plan. That's why it's sort of designed. You can see the little thin strips at the back. That's why it's like that, to hopefully fold it, but not fold the whole lot. If I make it through the D1 season when that's still on the back of the car, I'm doing something wrong. Still got some side skirts that I need to go on and put a bit more of this like fluor yellow on. And then obviously Bad Boy Graphics coming on and helping us out, actually over on the coast. He's into speedway and cars and all sorts of things, and just through connections, yeah, met up with him, and then he thought he'd wrap my car. So it looks silver still, and really close to the factory S2000 silver, like even on the front bumper here. That's the wrap and that's the factory color. But you'll see if we like come around the other side in the sun, totally different, and really highlights that 18-inch rim that's slammed into the side of the door.
Yeah. How did that happen?
It was Matsuri tandeming, and the guy in front of me just like buttoned off because there was the spun car in front of him. I didn't see it, and just like railed straight into him. So wheels, I pretty much just run like cheap stuff. Luckily, so S2000s run very high offset wheels from factory. The rear's plus 65 and the front's plus 55, which means everyone's shitty, poor fitment wheels, I need to like roll the guards for it. I can barely fit.
Oh, true.
So like all these, like all my wheels for now are like just cheap, couple of $100, you know, for the set. The plan is for next year to get like a full set of like fitted wheels, and go to the bigger tire on the back for the 265 and do all that. Other than that, everything else is pretty mundane really, other than the lock kit. Suspension is just some HKS Hypermax, just like run-of-the-mill S2000 stuff. It's actually horrible. I hate it. But that was like actually the first mod I bought for this car, was that suspension. Arms wise, everything in the rear is factory. I just moved one of the suspension pickup points to like just get rid of a bit of camber. In the front, it's like full agile performance steering kit pretty much. Like me and the guys over there, we worked on that through a few stages.
So you actually worked with the guys to develop the kit?
Yeah. Like I messed around with heaps of Nissans and cutting my own knuckles and lock kits and all this stuff, and like teaching myself about suspension geometry and all these things. So I literally just applied all that to what I knew here, and yeah, worked with Willie as well as Scott to just like tie in what they've done for their Supras, and use that as well as with my general knowledge, and made it happen. 60mm wider, which still isn't quite enough. Probably like 55, 60 degrees of lock or whatever. and very limited by the arms because it's double wishbone in the front, so there's just arms everywhere in the way.
How does the steering in this compare to a Nissan?
There's a lot of other things that make this well harder to drive. Steering wise, I guess it's actually pretty good now, and it's still electric power steer, so factory these have electric power steering in the steering rack. So there's like a motor there with a worm drive that like helps drive it, and everyone hates that for S2000s. Like the very few people that try to drift and they just can it straight away. I've kept it because it's cool, because there's no power steering lines, there's no pumps that get hot, there's no like nothing. It's super tidy. And from the start, from when I started building this and what it felt like to drift standard or close to, it's leaps and bounds, like leaps and bounds easier.
Yep. I remember a while ago you were saying too how you can pretty much sit in your car fully strapped and you can reach out and you can touch your rear wheel. Yeah. So you're pretty much sitting over top of the rear axle, which must make the drifting experience feel so much crazier because you're on that rear axle.
I'm surprised you can figure that out, to be honest, because seriously, because the biggest challenge I had with this car, so when I went to it, whatever, I like tutor at the drift schools, and that's been my biggest opportunity to like hop into everyone's cars, different cars, as far as all the Nissans and stuff, Toyotas and whatever that I've had before. But the weirdest thing, and what it's taken me the longest to get used to with this car, was exactly what you said, man, is that you're sitting at the back. So how you're pivoting in the car, like let's say a Safira or JZX90 as an example of cars I've had, you're like real close to front end, so you're kind of twisting like this when you're drifting, you know? But when you're in this, and you're like this far back, you're kind of going like this, you know, like you're pivoting around a point.
Yeah. And
that point in this car also moves around.
Before we get to the heart of the car, one thing we haven't mentioned is that this is actually a soft top. You can take the, well, not a soft top, but you can take the roof off.
And I have taken the roof off this, and it's freaking awesome.
So this is the stock motor, but it is far from stock around it.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a little bit less than stock inside, but very not stock around the outside of it. But this is called the F20C, 2 litre 4-cylinder. It comes out in this car as standard, and this is the only car that it comes out in, which makes it a real pain in the ass to like find spare bits for. Actually, to get this car going, I had to buy a crashed S2000 just for the motor. When I blew my motor up, it just like ran a bearing. It happens in these because they start burning oil and people don't look after them, and that's what happens. When I was looking at getting a replacement engine, if you can find them, they're about like 8 grand, just because it is only the S2000 that came out. So that's when I was thinking about K-swapping it, and then I found this other car, bought the whole car for this. The car had only done like 22 or 23,000 Ks. So this engine's probably at about like 28, 29 now. And it's pretty much the predecessor to the K-Series. K-Series come in 2 litre, 2.4. This comes in a 2 or a 2.2. So the facelift S2000, which is the AP2, came out with a 2.2 litre motor. A lot of engine parts are interchangeable. You can actually put a K-Series crank in this to like stroke it. The valve train's the same, like springs and retainers and all that stuff fits from the K-Series. The only thing that this doesn't have is variable cam timing. So it still has like VTEC, dual cam VTEC, but it just doesn't have the VCT pretty much. Short block wise, it's completely factory, apart from like a sump baffle thing that I welded in the factory sump. It's not like a gated sump or anything, just has literally just a wee baffle. I put just Supertech valve springs and retainers in it. That's the only thing I did to the motor, like to prep it sort of for boost. That was just to keep, you know, like valve float at 9,000 RPM. I'm still revving it, the factory red line, but just with like 18, 20 pounder boost in it now. And I'm happy as on the rev limiter, so I just thought, you know, safe insurance. Calford came on board and they supplied me with some Faria valves. Top of the line in-canal exhaust valves in it, stainless intake valves, and yeah, put the Supertech stuff back in, factory Honda head gasket, and got ARP head bolts because they weren't 6 weeks away from Japan, you know.
Big snail.
Big snail.
To the side of it,
yeah,
so you've got
yeah.
some boost.
So that's a Borg Warner S360, and I know the guys from Turbo King are going to scale me for getting this wrong, but it's like a S360 or something. I think the inducer on the compressor wheel is either a 60 or a 62. I'm sure it's a 60 mil. It's actually maxed out. So the power that it's making on ethanol now is restricted by the compressor, not the exhaust somehow. So it's one of the smaller T3 housings.
So since you brought up power, this on E85 it makes
606 at the hubs, horsepower, and only 540 newton meters, which there's a lot of street SR20s that make more torque than that around. Like, just to put it in perspective, you know. I worked with the guy, with Lars at Vinifab. Approached him about a manifold for this. I gave him the car, he's made it up. It's actually something that you can buy now. A lot of the guys in the States turbo these and like roll race them and drag race them and things, but they're all right left-hand drive, so they don't have like steering column, all that sort of stuff like in the way, and especially the electric power steer. So a lot of their turbo setups, I was definitely worried that they weren't going to fit with the right-hand drive.
Yep.
So straight off the bat, I was just like, custom manifold, went and seen Lars. That's when he jumped on board and helped me out. He's done a few other like little jobs for me, like that intake pipe, and just finished, but I couldn't have it here today. I got like a overflow for the radiator and an oil catch can, because all I've been running in this car the whole time I've owned it is this wee eBay special there. On high boost, at 600 horsepower, it pops the dipstick out if I've been on it, you know. Like, I know I've done a good run if the dipsticks come out.
Behind this, you have had some gearbox issues, and you no longer have those gearbox issues.
Lost 6th gear at Chrome, it just wasn't there anymore. So factory gearbox, it's rated for 250 engine horsepower. I'd been drifting it for like a solid year pretty much. Lost 6th gear, been rough shifting into 5th. I think did some damage to the selector there. Blew 3rd, sort of randomly, which was gonna happen. When it happened, it was really mundane and really boring, and I've like punished the car a hell of a lot more than that. But I think it just decided that was time for it to go.
Straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah. The way I saw it with this car is, if I spend this money, you know, and the mortgage took a big hit on that. So I didn't spend any money, the mortgage spent the money. But if I'm gonna spend that sort of money on a gearbox, always sell it for pretty much the same. Like these racing gearboxes, anyone wants to buy, right? So I was never gonna be in a panic about losing heaps of money on it. The other consideration for me, and this is why I didn't go with the like Quaife bolt-in gearbox, is HGT do like 10 different bell housings, and they can make custom bell housings and everything for any engine that you could possibly use. So as long as I'm in motorsport, and as long as I'm using a rear-wheel drive car, it doesn't matter if it's the S2000 or it's a JZ later or an RB, you know, God forbid, but I can always use it in something else. That's how I just made up my mind. And of course, like I said, my partner was just like, just do it. Like you need to be competitive at least a little bit if you're on the back foot already. And then I was, you know, very, very thankful to guy Richard from HGT. I guess I managed to impress him enough with my car and my driving for him to help me out. I'd already made the decision to go HGT before he said that, but it was a massive help. Yeah, it was a massive help.
So interior-wise, quickly, you obviously got some Sparko
yeah,
seats.
some Sparko seats. It was hard to find a seat. If you see here, the seat's hard up against the cage here, and it's like touching the tunnel there. And if you see the size of the tunnel, it's like enormous. To get the passenger seat in there, I had to like half unbolt half the bracket and like put it in there and like jump on it with my knees to like get it in there, and then like move it around, you know. Obviously the HGT shifter, and I tried to make it look nice, you know what I mean? Like I don't like the whole race car stripped out. Well, to be fair, it's not a whole race car stripped out sort of thing. I still have hopes that maybe I can get through a season of D1 with this car, and I can put it back on the road if I don't destroy it. So I'm running, it's actually the first S2000 plug-in ECU Link developed using this car. So they had it mostly finished and needed a car to test it on, and while this was completely factory, they just finalised the ECU, put it in there, and not had a single issue with it at all since then. And obviously got the Link dash. Didn't actually consider it at the time, but it came in real handy with the sequential, because you can very easily forget what gear you're in. Like in an H pattern, you're always going into the gear that you know you're going into. With a sequential, you just pull the stick, and then you just could be in 3rd or 5th, or who knows, you know. The cage I made myself with a couple of friends helping, and actually a lot of the car has been my mates and people helping out, like slaving on it. From the wiring, like I said, to the cage, the front end, everything. There's always been, you know, it's been the village building this car, and I can't appreciate my friends enough for that, you know. And also everyone who's on the car has helped me out in some way, plus, like I said, countless friends, family and things like that have just partner, you know. A few other bits, like the drive shaft, which was my biggest bloody drama with this. It had to be custom. It wasn't going to make it in time. No one in New Zealand wanted to build it because of the revs and the power and the angle that it was on and all these sorts of things. And in the end, I actually had to come up with my own solution, which was using the like Nissan GDR or like the Stager 4-drive like CVs, and using them on both ends, because the factory drive shaft's a CV drive shaft. Using them on both ends with an adapter that Goodman Engineering made for me, and now it's all happy and it's all done and it's driving and it's good.
Even though he's built it to basically compete in D1NZ Pro, this thing is street legal. So we're about to head off. We're going to go for a drive, get some street driving clips with it. And Mike's going to get some clips for the cinematic edit that you guys have already seen. So yeah, we're going to shut up. We're going to enjoy this thing on the streets, and I'm looking forward to this. I have seen a lot of videos of this thing, but I've obviously never been in it,
Yeah,
so I'm
yeah,
looking
yeah.
forward to this.
No, awesome, man. Let's go. So, wherever we go.
Definitely sounds like a track car. Can't get in.
I know of like maybe 3 or 4 competitive S2000 drift cars in the world. And some of them is next level crazy. Like one of them is JZ full. It's pretty much it's so engineered that at that point anything could drift. Like
It's barely an S2000.
it's barely an S2000 anymore, you know. And like obviously got to remove some bits and pieces. But I wanted to keep it on there. What I was like touching on before, I want to keep the F series in this. So it's gonna stay 2 litre, and hopefully the next engine is gonna be like sleeved and forged, and I want 10,500 RPM, and it needs to be 1,000 horsepower, and it's gonna stay 2 litre, because I'm not having my Honda rev less than an RB, like it's just, it's not happening, eh?
Alright, so quickly before we wrap this video, you know where we are, you've seen these skids before, Alex is going to do his thing, enjoy. That's gonna wrap it, guys. This car's insane. Alex has got a YouTube channel, he's got an Instagram. I'll chuck links to both of those in the description down below, so check it out. Any last words?
Thanks for watching, guys, as well. Like Joel said, appreciate the support. Good work for following his channel. Just want to say a big thanks actually to the sponsors that have helped me out build this car. It's something special, and it's because of them. Have a look at my channel if you want to follow more of the like